And yes, welcome back to another video, guys. Now that's right, today we're back to do my end of the month video. These videos are always so exciting for me because I get to talk about so many movies. And these are all movies that I have watched for the first time. I don't do rewatches here, I don't do TV shows. These are just movies I've watched for the first time throughout the month. And throughout January, I watched a lot of movies. I was very busy. I feel like I was slacking the last couple months because I had a lot of time off in December for work, you know, celebrating Christmas and whatnot. So there was a lot of time to relax. And I was kind of enjoying rewatching old films I know I love. But January, I really got back into it. There's a lot of films that I wanted to check out. I've been sent some amazing subscriber mail. So, yeah, I had a lot of stuff that I wanted to check out. So, once again, I've been a very busy boy. I haven't counted how many films are here, but I'd say there's a good 30 to 40. So, I'm going to go quick on some I'm going to go quick on. So, let's get started. The first film I watched for the first time was Scream 3. That's right, I started 2022 with a Scream movie because I knew the new one was coming up, which we will be talking about here because I didn't get a chance to review it. Sorry, Scream 3, posters. Whoa, here we are. Definitely the weakest of the Scream franchise. I found this one, it wasn't, do you know what? I've rewatched it since because I didn't like it on first watch and everyone was saying it's not that bad. And I have actually taken the time to rewatch it and I will admit, it's not a bad movie, I don't think. The thing that the Scream films get away with, unlike a lot of the other popular slasher franchises, is they're very self-aware and they acknowledge that they're on a silly number movie and that they're getting a bit campier. I think this one was the weakest because the characters were the least interesting, I'll say, and the acting was really bad at times. Like, the Scream franchise can sometimes have some bad acting in it, but again, being a bit self-aware, I think they know they're not going for Oscar performances, but here some of the acting was really bad. But Scream 3 was still a fun time. I'll give it a 5.5 out of 10. Then I watched what is considered by many people the greatest movie of all time, Citizen Kane, from 1941? 1941? I can't even remember. Sorry, it's an old movie. Yeah, I got the 80th anniversary box set here, like right before or right after Christmas. So there was the huge urge to watch the film because of that, and I've got to say the 4K transfer on it was beautiful if anyone's considering picking this up. Yeah, it was a fantastic movie. The story was so gripping, the acting was brilliant, the script was so tight, it was brilliant, and the score was also really good. It's not, I wouldn't personally say it's one of my favourite movies ever, but I completely get why people say that. It's a fantastic film, and I'll give it a... Oh, what am I going to give it? I'm gonna go 9 out of 10. I was debating 8.5, but then you sort of got to remember with these sort of films, you got to put yourself in the time when they come out, and it's a groundbreaking movie. So yeah. Then we have The Lost Daughter, which is a film which I saw literally about 2 days after I filmed my end of 2021 video, so it just missed out. And yeah, this is a film that went straight to Netflix, starring Olivia Colman. And yeah, it got a lot of buzz. I really do like this movie. There's a lot of really cool things about it. I think some of the character motivations was a little bit weak at times, I gotta say. But it was a beautiful looking movie. The sound mixing I thought was surprisingly good, which I haven't heard many people talking about. People talked about the score and stuff, but I thought the sound mixing was really good. The cinematography, of course, was great. The acting, of course. Olivia Colman's so good. It's crazy when I watch things like Peep Show, seeing how far she's come since her early days of doing that. You know, she deserves all the awards she's going to go up for this movie, because I'm sure she's going to go up for a few at the Oscars. Yeah, it's a really good film. It's tad too long. It does have some pacing issues, and as I say, some of the motivations behind characters wasn't either explained well enough or not earned, I don't think, but still a very good movie. I'm going to give The Lost Daughter a 8 out of 10. Then we have The Rescuers Down Under. Believe it or not, this is the first Disney animation film, or The Rescuers was the first Disney animation film to ever get a sequel that went to cinema. The Rescuers Down Under was it, which is incredible. Yeah, definitely not as good as the original Rescuers, and I'm a little bit surprised they made this, because I feel like the story wasn't quite there. I feel like, considering Disney, in terms of cinema, and I know they've made loads of TV sequels, but in terms of cinema, I know they've only ever made, 4 sequels? Rescuers, Fantasia, Wreck-It Ralph and Frozen. And I suppose if you count Winnie the Pooh, because he had another one that only went to cinema in America. So maybe 5. It's really odd that they're not a bit more tight on their sequel scripts, because a lot of the sequels to their films are never great, I find, and the Rescuers Down Under fits into that category. Yeah, I don't really have a lot to say about this. It's a very short film, and I think you can tell it was short for a reason. There wasn't enough material there. It was alright. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Then we have The King's Man, which is another film I missed out on reviewing. I've missed out on a few this month, I'll admit. I'm going to try and get better at that next month when more big films come out. King's Man, I don't think this film was bad, but it was very, very disappointing, I think. I was very excited to see The Kingsman go back to the First World War. I thought this was a really exciting idea, and how these characters, this world, influenced the real life historical events of how the First World War started and what became of the First World War. And I thought that was a really interesting concept. However, this film did fall apart in some areas. I wouldn't say it had an identity crisis, but it had major identity issues. It starts off as kind of a normal, like, origin story film. Then it goes into a serious World War movie. And then it becomes a fun, campy Kingsman movie, and the genre and the personality of this movie is just all over the place. You don't know what it wants to be, and it's just very confusing. I felt like I watched 3 different films strapped into one. Every act felt so different, and yeah, I would say overall felt very messy. I think as well, what this film really lacked was the fun campiness of the music that the first 2 have. That's one of the great things about the first 2 films, is that they really embrace this kind of campy music laid over the top of these epic action scenes, whereas here you don't have that, because they're stuck, they're restrained to their time period, where obviously this cheesy 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s music that we get throughout the first 2 Kingsmen, it wasn't made, so they're stuck there. There are some good elements, though. I did like a few of the characters. Ralph Fiennes was great in it. He's always great. And as I said, the action scenes were well choreographed and they were fun. And I liked the Russian villain. He was cool, even though he wasn't in it near enough. And the main villain, the payoff at the end, I really didn't think that was exciting. But hey, The Kingsman, very disappointing. It was okay. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Then we have The Burbs, which is an Arrow video film I picked up probably a good month or 2 ago now, and yeah, I was watching it. I think it was Mr. Jamie Powell mentioned on YouTube that it was one of his favourite films, so I was like, you know, I'm going to watch that. Tom Hanks, Carrie Fisher, I'm forgetting who else was in it. There was another couple actors I recognised, but yeah, just a bunch of over-the-top neighbours, something weird going on in that house. We got to break in and find out, and it's cheesy 80s fun, and I got to say, I had an absolute blast with this movie. It's so great. I love it when this happens, when you pick up a random movie, because it's part of a collection or whatever. It's going cheap. You think, yeah, fucking I'll buy it. Why not? It's cheap. And then you absolutely end up loving it. I thought The Burbs was absolutely fantastic. It was so fun and magical. I love this kind of side of the 80s, where these cheesy, really fun movies were being made. I had a great time with it. Tom Hanks was great in it. He looked so young. It's awesome to see Carrie Fisher. I really loved this movie. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Then we have Notting Hill, which is a film that my good friend Ryan has been trying to get me to watch for a while, because obviously we're both big fans of Love Actually. It's a great movie. Yeah, I've really wanted to watch some more Hugh Grant, because everything I see him in I really like, and Notting Hill is meant to be one of his best, and do you know what? I can completely see why. I love this movie. I thought this was great. So sweet and innocent and heartwarming. Just some really beautiful character moments to it. Him and Julia Roberts falling in love was so great. You believe it. It's so fascinating where the story takes you. Like, one minute you sort of think that their love story sort of getting on track, and then it gets thrown a curveball. And I loved that. It was a really special, really nice film. Give it an 8.5 out of 10. Then we have The Karate Kid Part 2. So I sort of rushed through Karate Kid 2 and 3. We'll speak about 3 and literally 2 more films. Because I all of a sudden got on the Cobra Kai hype train. I was like, I've got to watch his show. So, yes, I have watched all 4 seasons of Cobra Kai. I've done it in like a week after I'd seen these 2 films. And I will be watching the next Karate Kid at some point, but I knew I didn't have to rush to see that to watch Cobra Kai. But anyway, the Karate Kid Part 2. I loved the first one. I watched it months ago. I was a big fan of it. And this one I thought was really good as well. It took an interesting approach, sort of getting rid of the villains from the first movie and creating new characters. But I sort of respect it in a way for doing that. I feel like the film had a story to tell and it was determined to tell it. And it wasn't going to let the old characters influence this new story. So I kind of respect it there. Obviously not as good as the first film, but it still has everything that I love from the first film. It's got great pacing. It didn't feel too long at all. You know, the characters were all fun. The fights were great. The music was fantastic. It was just a really fun movie. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. Okay, then we have Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, Giant Monster All-Out Attack. Genuinely the name of the movie. And I've got to say, this is one of the best Godzilla films I've ever watched. And it's a shame because I don't know much about these Godzilla films in terms of how much they make, how successful they are. But I'm guessing the title of this one might have been enough to put people off because bloody hell, it's a mouthful. But this was so good. I loved this film because it felt so epic. Like, the human characters were actually okay. And for the first act of the movie, there was big suspense. Like, Godzilla's coming from one corner of the earth. Mothra's coming from another one. The weird turtle shell, spiky turtle shell ones coming from another corner of the earth. And they're all going to collide. It was this huge epic, not just one monster shows up, one monster shows out, and they just fight. Bang. It was a huge epic, like, process to get these monsters to where they needed to be, and I really loved that. It felt epic, and the fights were great. King Ghidorah is just so awesome. Yeah, I really loved this movie. I'm gonna give this film a 7.5 out of 10. Then we have Ice Age Collision Course. I've watched this because the new Disney Plus one, I think it's out. The Adventures of Buck Wild, the Ice Age film. I haven't actually watched it yet, but I will be watching it soon. It's on Disney Plus. So if it was in cinema, I wouldn't bother. But I thought, you know, I'll watch the fifth one so I could say I've seen them all when I eventually get around to watching the new one. I love the first two Ice Age films, and I really like the third one. And I thought the fourth one was very average. And I remember seeing trailers for the fifth one. I was like, too much. Space, yeah. I know they're kids' films, but come on. So yeah, I watched this, and this film was painful. Like, none of the jokes landed. None of them. They were all cringy. Very modern jokes, which, if someone comes to watch the Ice Age films in another 20 years, I just don't think that anything in this film's going to age well. The characters are all boring. Like, everything felt so forced. And even the animation wasn't that great in this one at times. Felt very lazy. Give it a 3 out of 10. I really was not impressed with this movie. Then we've got Kelly's Heroes, which is a Clint Eastwood World War II film, which I really loved, and I can't wait to see more war films with Clint Eastwood. There was a scene in this one when they find some mines hidden under the earth. I think they're trekking across France, I can't remember. But that scene was so great. The tension of these characters getting out of this field while some Germans were also coming up like a nearby road on their tanks. It was so tense. That one scene for me was fantastic. But the rest of the film was great. A lot of really relatable characters. Clint Eastwood is just such a badass. I love him. I'm going to give this film a 7.5 out of 10. Then we got Brazen. I think that's how you say it. The first... Is it the first? Yeah, the first 2022 film I saw. Yeah, bloody hell, it was beyond terrible. Absolutely awful. First off, the story makes no sense. There's a murder, a woman's sister is murdered, and the murdered sister writes murder mystery books. So she just gets involved in the case, and the police sort of allow it. Stupid. The police officers sucked. There was a side one who looked like Albert Einstein. He had some white frizzy hair, and he was bloody awful. The murder was just boring. The murderer was bland. It was just all so dull, poorly acted. The script was terrible. Everything felt forced. It was like, right, I need to tell you this so the audience knows. I really need to tell you this so the audience knows. It was very much like that. This film sucked. I was warned about it by Mr. Movie Worm, and I still watched it. 1.5. This film's garbage. And then we got Hotel Transylvania 3 Summer Vacation. Yeah, okay, I've actually missed out a couple of movies here. Hang on. So we'll do this one and I'm going to go back to the couple of movies I missed out. Because I realised I hadn't talked about Karate Kid 3 yet. So, yeah, I had to watch this one in preparation for the new one, of course. Yeah, this was alright, to be fair. It was funny, the woman who runs the boat, I was listening to, I'm like, is that Agatha Harkness from WandaVision? And it was. She's got such a great voice. She's such a great actress. I really like these films, you know. Adam Sandler, it's such a shame he's not in the new one. He's really good in these films. The animation style is kind of interesting as well. And there's that one character, Blobby. I don't know what it is, but he cracks me up. Yeah. I got this film 6.5 out of 10. Really not that bad of a movie. Okay, so going back to the ones I missed out, I watched Scary Movie. This was after Karate Kid 2. Scary Movie, yeah, so it's a parody of Scream. It really wasn't funny. Anna Faris, I'm not sure how her career actually got going after this movie, because if I'd seen her in this, I would have been like, don't cast her, she's terrible, because she is truly awful in this film. I didn't laugh once. It's so out of date, boring, low blow humour. Sorry if you like it, I just think it's crap. It's just such uneducated humour where it's like, fart jokes. It's... I'll give it a 3 out of 10, I guess. Then we have Scream 4, the new Scream film. No, sorry, not the new Scream film. My head's all over the place today, guys. I'm sorry. This one was from 2011, I think, sorry. On Prime. This was a real return to form for the Scream franchise for me. Yeah, this was a really, really great film. I thought that the characters were a lot more interesting. The cheesiness was great. The opening to this film, by the way, is incredible. I love it. My head was all over the place. I was like, what the hell's happening? But it was so fun. I loved it. I really love this Scream franchise now, I've got to say. I'm so excited that they're doing a 6th one. Yeah. It's just really good fun. I'm going to give this film a 7 out of 10. Then we have The Karate Kid Part 3. Which, of course, returned to the setting of the first film. You know, we're back to the normal dojos. Cobra Kai's back. We got a new villain, who apparently was on crack now, which makes so much more sense. Yeah, this film was just so much fun. It wasn't quite as good as the second one, I'd say. I'll put it only slightly behind the second one, but I still had a lot of fun. Yeah, there's some cheesiness here. There's some bad dialogue, but it's just so much fun. Yeah, the love interest was a bit weak, I'll say that. But yeah, this film was really great fun. I really like it. 7 out of 10. Okay, back to where we were. Scream 2022, the brand new one, of course. So this film here was probably the biggest film that came out in January. And I missed reviewing it, so here we go. I loved this film. I thought it was great. I had so much fun with it in the cinema. The kills were great. I loved that this actually put a couple little twists and turns on it, like with the kill at the start. There was a little bit of a twist with that. There was a big death, like, in this one, which was quite surprising. It's the first time I think Scream has ever gone out their way to give you, like, a really big, epic death. And the murderers, I thought, a little bit predictable, but still it made sense. I really loved the new characters. Melissa, I think her name is something. Melissa something, the one from In the Heights. She's fantastic, and she really fits into this new trio of the female leads in these movies. I'm really hoping she'll be in the 6th one. Also, I loved all the performances from like the actress who played her sister. I thought done an incredible job. Dewey from The Boys was fantastic in this movie, and of course the returning cast. And Ghostface is just awesome. I love watching him talk to people on the phone. There was a bit that cracked me up where someone actually went to put the phone down on him, and he's like, wait. And also the bit where they spoke about Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi. I love it. It shows how petty some of The Last Jedi haters were. So that cracked me up. I really enjoyed this movie. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. Okay, then we have Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. So I was really into my Godzilla this month, in case you can tell. I really got back into it. And yeah, this was super fun, seeing these two fight. It was a bit of a drag sometimes to get Mechagodzilla up and going. It definitely wasn't as good as the previous movie, but it still had that kind of epic feeling that when they fought, it was big. Godzilla looked awesome. He's just, at this point, Godzilla looks great in all his films. It's not like back with the 70s and 90s ones, where sometimes he'd look better in other ones. Here he's just kind of consistently good now. But yeah, this one was really good fun still. I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. Then I also decided to get back into the Friday the 13th films and finish off that franchise. Currently, I only have one left to go. So I started off with Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday, because we've already had a final Friday. I know we got another final Friday. I'm going to be honest, I'm not the biggest Friday the 13th fan, and this particular film, this is the 9th installment to the franchise. This particular one is the worst of the worst. This film is fucking terrible. Like, absolutely diabolically bad. Like, Jason dies instantly, and then it's like Jason's always been a weird worm thing that just goes into other bodies, and you've just got other people consistently walking about throughout the film killing people. None of the main characters were interesting. None of the kills were particularly that interesting either. This film was fucking awful. It was terrible. If you're a huge Friday the 13th fan, I reckon even you would say this film was bad. I'm going to give it a 1 out of 10. Then we have Godzilla, Tokyo, S.O.S. This one here, yeah, I don't really have much to say about this one. This is quite a loved one, to be honest, but I think I preferred the last two I watched. This was good fun still. There was a lot of cool Godzilla action, but yeah, it's kind of forgettable compared to the ones it's surrounded by. Because while the next Godzilla film, which we'll talk about in a minute, Final Wars, is probably worse, it has a lot more interesting things happening in it, which makes it more memorable. I'll give this one a 6 out of 10. 6. Then we have Hotel Transylvania, Transformania. Got there eventually. So yeah, this was the new one, of course, which went straight to Amazon Prime. I think it was going to cinema last year, but I think Prime bought it out. I don't really know how many issues this film had, but I'm guessing it had a few because of the delays, which I don't think were COVID related. And of course, cast members not returning. Adam Sandler and Kevin James did not return. Don't really care about Kevin James, to be honest. But Adam Sandler not returning was a real shame. They got a YouTuber impersonator to do his voice, and at times he was really good as Adam Sandler, and then at other times it was a bit ropey. But yeah, the story to this one was quite fun again. You know, these Hotel Transylvania films surprised me. I really thought, you look at this franchise of, we're on the full film now, and you really don't expect it to be doing much, but they are all genuinely quite fun. There isn't really anything too bad there, I don't think. At this point they've sort of stopped trying to make it unique. They're sort of just running with the gag of it, and it is what it is. It's kind of fun. So yeah, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Then we have Topaz. Now so Topaz, this was it was another Hitchcock film, of course. I really just don't have anything to say about this one. I honestly don't. I thought it was so boring, which is such a shame because I love Hitchcock. Like, he's become one of my favourite directors, but I'm sort of discovering that his later films I just don't enjoy as much as his earlier or middle era films. I honestly don't have anything to say about this one. I'll give it a 4 out of 10. Sorry to fans of that one. I just don't have anything for it. And then we have Coogan's Bluff, which is also just another movie which I really don't have much to say on. This is another Clint Eastwood movie. Yeah, I don't have much to say about this movie, but to be honest, I'm trying to think of, I think I suppose I'd say the film had quite good pacing. Clint Eastwood is as good as he always is, but yeah, Coogan's Bluff, 5 out of 10. Just really don't have much for this one. Jason X. I did not know Jason went to space. Jesus, this happened. Do you know what? I will say this for it, though. It's unique. It's a lot better than the last Friday the 13th film I saw. It reminded me of a piss take on the first Alien movie. It's like, yeah, let's whack him in space and have him going about the spaceship hunting people. And do you know what? There was some room for some cool deaths. Like, he kills one. Like, I think it's the first woman he kills. Like, he puts her in this, I don't know if it's like zero oxygen thing, and she like freezes and then he smashes her head, and I was like, that's a pretty cool kill. So yeah, there's some fun moments to it. It's really, really stupid. It's really bad, but it's also really fun. So yeah, Jason X can have a Screw it, it can have a 5 out of 10. Two Mules for Sister Sara, I watched next. This, you know, Clint Eastwood Western. He's travelling around with a nun in this one. This was a decent movie, I think. Definitely some pacing issues, and I think the film could have done with some more scenes to liven up the slow pacing of what I think they were hoping for be a bit more upbeat Western. But, you know, again, I don't have loads to say about this one either. It's sort of just, yeah, it is what it is. I don't think I'll ever rewatch this one, but it was entertaining enough. Give it a 6 out of 10. Then we got The Royal Treatment, a Netflix original, starring the guy from Aladdin. That's pretty much why I watched it. This film borrows from every other rich person falls in love with poor person film that's ever existed, you know. So it doesn't do anything unique. I quite liked him in it. The girl in it, I found her character a little bit... I'm trying to think of a word. She's just a bit much at times, her character, I think. And I found her a bit annoying almost. So when one of your characters is like that, it's always hard to connect with them. I think some people are like this, people like the romantic films more, but for me, yeah, it was just alright. I have 4 out of 10. Then I watched The Circus. This is a Charlie Chaplin film, and I thought that this film was really great. There's, you know, Charlie Chaplin, the master, of course, of silent movies, and I think The Circus has so much stuff that you can do there, because The Circus has always so much going on. And I think it's a perfect setting for a Charlie Chaplin film, and they really ran with it, and it was really great. So, yeah, I just really enjoyed this film. A lot of the acts and stuff that you see throughout the film are really good. And Charlie Chaplin's just great in it, as always. I give this film an 8 out of 10. Then I watched an animated film called 9. I'd always seen posters for this, didn't know what it was about, had no idea. I'd seen some people say they loved it, some people say they didn't like it. I think somewhere in the middle is where the truth lies with this one. I thought the film was just okay. Because all the character designs are quite similar, I sometimes got a bit confused with who was who in like shots where they were all running and stuff. My care factor actually got a little bit lower as the film went on. I I found myself losing interest. It didn't grip me as much as I wanted it to. But it's a really cool concept, and it's something that I would hope to actually see a remake of one day. 9, I'll give it a 6. Then we have My Son, the new James McAvoy movie. Very Scottish movie, all filmed up in Scotland, of course. A lot of Scottish actors. And stars the woman from the first 2 seasons of The Crown, who played the Queen. I can't think of her name. Claire Foy, I think. And they were both great in it. This story had so much potential. I really loved the setting of this. Some of the cinematography was actually surprisingly really nice for this film. Like, really gorgeous. I love those kind of dark bits of the countryside up in Scotland. It's beautiful. So I love that aspect of it. I just feel like when the film finally got to its conclusion, it didn't feel very rewarding, I think is where my problems lie with this movie. Saying that, still a good film though. I think it was, you know, considering 2022 started off with some pretty naff middle ground films for me, other than Scream. This one surprised me. It was one of the better ones, I guess, but I'm still only going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. Then we have Godzilla Final Wars. This is the last live-action Godzilla film I had to watch. I got the 3 Netflix animated ones to watch, but that's it. I've watched every live-action Godzilla film now. And Final Wars felt like the perfect one to end on almost, because, yeah, the story is kind of bad. The aliens suck, the humans are boring. But my god, so many Godzilla monsters come back from, like, the Showa era. And that part of it, I know it's a bad movie, but I thought it was epic. I was like, oh my god, there's the Clory Krabby monster from like one of the 60s movies. They even brought in the Godzilla from the 1990s American movie. They called it Zilla, and they killed it in one hit, and it was beautiful, and I loved it. So yeah, this was kind of like the Avengers of Godzilla films. It was just so wacky. And I want to give it a good score because I was hyped at times. Like, oh my god, there's that one fighting that monster. And even Baby Godzilla was in it. And he wasn't even terrible in this one somehow. I mean, when it went to him, it did feel like I'd gone back to watching a drugged up Barney the dinosaur. But it still wasn't as cringy or as bad as it had been in previous movies. But the alien stuff was so bad. So bad. I can't give it a great score. But I'm going to be a bit kind to it because this is the most hyped I think I felt in a Godzilla film in a while. I'm going to give it 6.5. Then we have Nightmare Alley, 1947, the original. So I knew I was going to see the new one, so I wanted to watch the original, and I had a blast with this movie. It's all on YouTube for free, so if you want to watch it, it's easily accessible. And yeah, it's such a fun movie. I thought the acting was great. I love this story. I think it's so unique and interesting in the way it goes, where it develops. Like, you go from the circus to being in a more higher up place, upper class place. I think it's just really interesting. Yeah, as I say, I just find the story to this just fascinating. The film itself didn't do loads, like, compared to, like, things like Citizen Kane were coming out around this time as well. This is the 40s, you know. Hitchcock was coming on the scene. I don't think it blew me away compared to some of those other films, but it's still very good. I'll give this film an 8 out of 10. I really did enjoy it. Then I watched Wind River, which was very kindly sent to me. Elizabeth Olsen, Jeremy Renner, two of my favourite actors, going today, so I really wanted to watch it for those two. And this was a fantastic movie. First off, I loved the setting. The cinematography was gorgeous. Jeremy Renner was really good, but Elizabeth Olsen, I think this is the best performance I've seen from her so far. She was fantastic. John Barnfield's in it for a little bit as well, and he was incredible. And yeah, just this film was just awesome. Like, the story was great. I loved how it concluded, and it was brutal at times. I'm going to give Wind River a 7.5 out of 10. Then we have another Hitchcock film here. We got Frenzy. This film here started off really well for me. I was really interested. I really liked the way the story was going. The acting was great. And I liked all the characters. But I don't really know how to describe it. I just feel this film went on for a bit too long, and it just really started to lose me about halfway through, where I really just started to lose interest. Didn't feel like things were getting close to concluding. And at times it almost felt a little bit unbelievable as well. Which is a real shame, because I thought this was going to be like my comeback to Hitchcock, where I'm like, yes, another great film from Hitchcock. Because it really started out that way, but I really just found myself losing interest, which is a real shame. Still a good film though, much better than Topaz, that's for sure. In this film, 6.5 out of 10. Oh, then I got to watch Freddy vs. Jason finally. I finally got to see these two big bads go against each other after 11 or 12 Friday the 13th films and 7 Nightmare on Elm Streets. I finally got to watch these villains clash, and it really reminded me of Aliens vs. Predator, the first one, because the second one's trash. It's bad, but it's so much fun. They could have done so much more with it, yeah. They could have made a really good film, yeah. But take it for what it is, and it is kind of fun. It's enjoyable. Watching Freddy talk shit to Jason, and Jason just going ham on Freddy. And I really love the ending, like, who won kind of thing. I thought that was really cool. I like the way it concluded. And do you know what? Some of the side characters are actually okay as well. I'm going to give this film a... I'll be kind. 6 out of 10. I'll be kind. It's definitely too kind, but there you go. Then we got The Tender Bar, which is the new Ben Affleck film, which went to Prime. And I actually really enjoyed this one. I really just love Ben Affleck. I think this is based on a true story. And it's just a really fascinating story to watch. You know, you've got the guy from Ready Player One in it, and his relationship with his uncle, Ben Affleck, is great. And when his father sort of comes in the scene, I find that fascinating. The love story in it, if you call it that, him sort of going after a girl who doesn't really want him, it's kind of heartbreaking to watch unfold. But yeah, I think this film has a lot of heart to it, and it's overall just a really, really fun movie. So yeah, I'll give it 7 out of 10. Then 2 more films. We got Nightmare Alley 2021, which is probably the best film of 2022 I've seen. I said 2021, didn't I? So this is what happens. The later on in the video it gets, the more scrambled my head gets. I thought this was a great remake. Is it better than the original? No. Is it worse than the original? No, I actually think it's kind of on the same level, to be honest. I think Bradley Cooper gives a great performance. Cate Blanchett is also fantastic in it. I'm not sure the name of the actress, but the main actress in it who goes off with Bradley Cooper, fantastic. I like some of the new plot elements they added over the original. I thought that added to the film quite well. Some of the cinematography was great. The pacing was fantastic. I loved the settings and the set designs and the costumes and stuff. Absolutely beautiful. Tad too long. I think the film could have been trimmed down, definitely, but still really good. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. And the last film I have to talk about is The Evil Dead. This film was pretty bloody fantastic, to be honest. Sam Raimi, of course, one of his first movies. And I got to say, for a film made in the 80s, it really scared the hell out of me while I was watching it. The tension was really high. You can tell it's one of his first films, though. Maybe it was his first film. I'm not 100% sure. Because some of the cuts were a bit jagged and some of the acting wasn't great. But it was still very entertaining. I'll give this film a 7 out of 10. There we go. So, I got to pick a film of the month. And I really don't think it could be any other. I have to go with Citizen Kane. I mean, yeah, this film, as I say, I don't quite agree with, like, best film ever. But that's me personally. People know me. They know that I love the big blockbusters of the 70s, 80s and 90s. But I can see why people do say this is the best film ever. And it's masterclass cinema making. It was just genuinely incredible. And I loved it. And I will be rewatching it again at some point. But there we go. There is all the films I watched for the first time throughout the month of January 2022. I keep wanting to say 2021. It's ridiculous. Anyway, thank you so much for watching as always, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like the video, leave a message. And as always, I'll see you next time for another video. Bye-bye.